I can remember like when they came to pick me up, my mum was crying. I was like, oh my god, what are you crying for?
It was horrible because you were in the same place, you could not speak to anyone, have no contact with the outside, and you were in just a position where it was very psychologically exhausting.
My heart just like stopped. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it was like happening to me. I never thought it would like get this far.
They made you feel as if you did that, so you're responsible, and here are the consequences of what you have done.
Excuse me, I'm paying for that, excuse me.
So I walked round to my house and I saw the police car outside my house, and I kind of just stopped because I kind of clicked what it was about. And I went in and my mum was like crying, and then the police lady was there, and then she just said that I was under arrest.
It didn't hit me until we said you were arrested. I was like, just sitting there and I just didn't know what to say. I was in shock.
I was just silent, I didn't know what to say. I burst into tears, my mum was crying, I was just so scared.
But then she said the whole sentence, you have the right to remain silent, and anything that's said that may be used against you in the court of law. And I thought, wow, I never pictured this happening.
They checked me and then they walked me to their car, opened the back door, they told me to get in, and the whole of like the street was watching me, and I felt so embarrassed.
Once I got to the police station, I expected it to be put in a waiting room and sort of waited for my mom to come and pick me up and go back home, but it didn't really go quite that way.
It was cold and dark, and yeah, there was loads of police officers just walking around, and other people that had been brought into the police station locked in other rooms, so that made me even more scared.
Then the man was like, oh, we need to take some few details, so then they walked me through this long aisle, took me to like the front office bit.
I remember at that point was when I started crying. At that point was because when we walked into the police station, it was there was a couple other people that were getting checked in, and I thought I was nothing. I'm nothing like to that sort of person.
And then I got booked in, and they asked me loads of questions and stuff, like where I lived, my parents, if I had a mobile and stuff like that. And then they took all my stuff away from me and put it into a bag.
They took everything off me, they took my jewellery off me, they took my shoes off me.
It kind of makes you feel like everything's being taken away from you at like one go. Like when you're little and you're kind of like a baby and your parents take things away from you because you're not allowed to have them. It was kind of like that. After about another 20 minutes they took me in, and I had my fingerprints taken, pictures, DNA testing.
Then they took me into a room to take my fingerprints, and I had ink all over my hands, and the lady was like, oh, do you want a piece of paper to wash it off? And I thought, yeah. And I was just sitting there looking at my hands thinking, oh my god, it just feels so dirty. Does that make sense? Just not dirty, but that's like literally because I had like ink on my hands, but then I just felt like dirty at the time. That wholly was happening.
And they take your fingerprints and your DNA so that they can put it in the system. And my mom was present because you need an adult to be present. And when they took my fingerprints, I kept on looking at her, and then she would just look away and sort of in denial. And she would like start crying every like 5 minutes, which was really horrible.
I was sitting in front of one big machine, and I didn't know what to look at. It was just a really like small circle, and the lady was like, look into that, and I was just like, what am I supposed to be looking into? It's so small. They took me to the cell, I walked through the door and the lady was like, take your shoes off and come back out. And I took my shoes off and back, she goes, get in there. And
I looked inside the room and I looked at the gate and then I looked at her and I wanted her to say, actually we'll just put you in the waiting room. But she said, take off your shoes and go in.
And then they shut me up in the cell. Yeah, it was like a loud bang and like the room just kind of like shook.
oh, it's so loud, it's the worst possible thing ever, to hear that. It's like worse than your mum shutting your bedroom door and I was just angry or something. There was just 4 walls and it was just so small and there was a toilet in one corner and she was just like, if you want to go, just go in there. And I think it's disgusting. Can't believe I'm here. It's like so degrading.
And there's a little hole which the cell has, which is for like them to give you food or for them to talk to you or anything. It's quite gloomy because the window, it has one window and you can't really see outside because it's like glazed window, so you can't see.
And I was just standing there looking at the cell thinking, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe I'm locked up.
It was just a dark room and then there was the table and I was sitting one side and then the police officer was sitting the other, and then this massive tape recorder on the table.
Then the police officer come in and he was just questioning me, and then the solicitor was like, look, be quiet, just let her like think in it.
Well, the lady had to say my name on the tape and what I'd done, and then the first question she asked me was there anything you'd like to say? And I just said, I did it, I committed the crime, and like burst into tears. So then she stopped the tape and then that was it really. So it was quite short but it was so scary.
And then they put me in a cell. I must have been there for about about 10 hours. I was just sitting there thinking, oh my god, and it was so cold.
I heard that noise 3 times that night, and every single time it sounded like if it wasn't real. I thought that they were playing a joke on me or something. But every time that door shut, I thought that my chances were getting slimmer of getting outside or of yet having another chance.
Then it was freezing in there, just sitting there like lying there. I just remember it was just freezing and I was just thinking, oh my god, what are my parents going to say? While she was sitting in the other cell, there was like other people coming in like through the other cells as well, and they were screaming and shouting, and like there was someone next to me obviously because I was in one of the end cells, and like he kept banging and I thought, oh my god.
They were screaming and banging against the wall and people saying, get me out of here. I don't know, it seemed like forever. Because like, I was in there on my own and everything, it was cold and you're just looking around and it's just like 4 blank white walls. Just sat there. That was it, just sat there because there's nothing you can do. You can't get out.
It was a 6-hour period which I was just sitting in the cell doing absolutely nothing. Eventually I tried to get some sleep and just so I could just pass the time by, but it was just really loud. I remember one of the most horrible things was waking up and I was expecting to be in my room, but I was just in the same room, in the same place, and I thought, it's not fake, it's real. This is actually happening to me. I'm actually in a cell. And eventually I broke down. I asked for a box of tissues. I ran through a box of tissues.
I was so upset. I couldn't cry or anything. I was just sitting there like thinking, oh my god. Didn't know what to say. Just thought, what have I done?
And that's when it hit me about consequences, that everything you do has a consequence. And that's whenever your teacher or your mom tells you that, then you think, oh well, whatever. But everything that you actually do has a consequence. What I was there for was something I thought was silly, but I did that and it had a consequence, and I was there. I was in the cell.
I felt like crap, to be honest.
I never want to be there again, ever. I never want to be put in that situation. It was the scariest thing of my whole entire life. I don't think I'd ever experience anything more scary than that was.
You might think that it's not going to get you into trouble because you might not get caught, but if you do get caught and you go through what I went through, you will not want to ever do anything. So really do double think about it before you get to the cell.
So if you think twice, it's not worth it. It's not worth it.